What's up, everybody? It's your girl Q1, and I am back with Bel-Air season 4, episode 6. Your crown is waiting. I think they dropped the last 3 episodes. I just saw it, so that was the last 3 episodes, and we're done. But I'm only doing 6 today. All right. So before I start, make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe, click the notification bell button so you can be updated on every video that I drop. Make sure you like the videos so I can stay in the algorithm. Okay? All right. So y'all, we see the family taking care of Vivian, and Hillary is back, her and her boho braids, which she looks really, really cute. Okay? Will is on the phone with his mom, Vi, and she is telling him, that I've been bragging about you on your full ride at Stapleton University. And then Will, he let his mom know about, his role at Stapleton, that he has to be more basketball centered than actually academia centered. Okay. So Vi tells Will, she told Will, you don't have to be CEO. You're only 18. Will was like, listen, I got to make some stuff shake. And she told him, you've made big decisions without me, like quitting a basketball team this summer. And I still have say so in your future. And I'm looking at him like, you don't. He's grown. He's almost not grown, but, he's capable of making really sound decisions. All right. So Vi tells him, you're going to accept that full ride and you're going to take the blessing in front of you. And I'm just like, yeah, you guys got to get out of pushing things that aren't for your kids. They're going to find their own way. But I'm an advocate of college. I am. But I'm also an advocate of trade school, whatever it is, entrepreneurship, or whatever you want to call it. I am a big fan of that, as long as you're working hard, you have a job and you're working hard towards your goals. Like, I am a big fan of all of it, but it's almost like Vi wants him to, like, play basketball so he can make it to the NBA. And it's like, he wants to be into business, and thank God that NBA, that sports is not the only thing that he sees. Anyway, we get a flashback of Will when he was young, and he's in school acting up. He throwing things at one of the young ladies. And so his mom was like, listen, your teacher is saying that you're doing X, Y, and Z. Will basically, he was like, I'm bored. We find out Will gets straight A's. He's very, very intelligent. He's getting straight A's in school, and he's bored. And these are kids, and if you have kids or nieces and nephews or whatever, whomever, and that they are very intelligent, what do? They need to be challenged. First of all, they need to be challenged. So when they are not challenged, they finish their work before everybody. They're sometimes telling the teacher what they should be doing, how they should correct things, what was right, what was wrong. If not, they start picking with other people. So there's this, they just need heavy challenging. All right. So Jeffrey talks to Phil about him being questioned about the feds. I'm sorry, about the feds questioning Jazz, and they took Jazz's financial record. They seized Jazz's financial records. But Philip was like, listen, because Jeffrey said, listen, they're going to come knock on your door. And Philip was like, well, before they come knock on my door, I'm going to go to them first. All right. So I was like, okay, like, he really bold. He kept saying, like, I got this covered. So it seems as though Phil has something in place. Him and Jeffrey. So before Jeffrey walks off, as Jeffrey was walking off, Philip was like, listen, is there anything else you have to say? Anything else, you have, or whatever you want to say? And Jeffrey was like, turned over and was like, nope, I don't think we got anything else. Philip wanted him to admit that he was, that he went to visit Dominique, but he didn't. Anyway, Will and Carlton, they have a conversation with Hillary about reconsidering their college choices. She tells them her trip to Costa Rica and how it was life-changing for her. And she also tells them how she has a different perspective on grief and joy. She said that the pain of losing LaMarcus still hurts. However, she still finds joy in going throughout. She still have the ability to find joy. So Will has a heart-to-heart with Philip, and Philip gave him some sound advice, and Will shows him his school of choice that he wanted to go to. We didn't get the school of choice, but Uncle Phil did. So it was very encouraging. So we get another flashback with Carlton and Philip, and he's working on his math homework, but he is struggling. Phil wants him to work harder so he can get into Bel-Air Academy. And I'm wondering if this where Carlton anxiety started. Because they expected a lot from Carlton, and I don't know. Carlton wasn't as intelligent. Well, I gotta use the right word. He was smart. He is smart, but he wasn't like Will. He struggled. That's all. Carlton had his struggles. And so we get back into real time, and he's now on the Ivy League, on his Black Ivy League page on IG, where the black students are posting their experience going to schools like Princeton or Harvard, like, the PWIs. And so I think that gives him more anxiety. I read something about somebody's hair being distracted. I'm pretty sure it was locks or something, and the teacher told them that it was distracting. I actually like this episode because they shine a lot on us, and the issues that we deal with, Anyway, Philip have a chit chat with Carlton about taking care of the family. He lets him know where all his financial documents are located. And, he was like, Carlton was like, what's up? Is anything happening? So Philip was like, no, I'm just taking precaution. But I will say this. He talks to Vivian, and he hugs her. And she was like, you make it seem like you're not coming back. And so Philip was like, this is all a part of the plan. This is the second time he mentioned that to Vivian. First time, it was like an episode or two ago when they were laying in the bed. And he was like, listen, everything is all a part of the plan. I was like, okay. So this is the part that kind of annoyed me, because Vivian had probably one of the most top physicians at her home. And he was definitely ignoring her pain, as we do. And when we speak up, Dr. Jackie, we are not faking. When we speak up, we have pain. When we speak up, we are not complaining. When we speak up, we know our body better than anybody else. I don't know if I said this, but I mentioned something to my doctor, and he's a good doctor. Great. Excellent. But the moment he was like, oh, no, it's not, I had to find me another doctor. Okay? Somebody that looks like me, So she tells him that she has pain in her lower pain in her belly. He tells her that it's because your uterus has expanded. But he let her know that that's not harmful. So Hillary was like, she passed out, and do we need to take another test? he then decided to let them know testing for every possibility is stressful, and they shouldn't go around fishing for problems. Hear the dismissiveness. Vivian also let him know that her hands and feet are itchy and it's getting worse by the minute. Well, he decided he didn't even look at her. He just was like, "Well, I'm just gonna prescribe you with some hydrocodone cream or whatever that is." And he was like, "I'm gonna prescribe you with some mild hydrocodone cream." And he leaves. Hillary tells Vivian, you know your body, and don't let anybody dismiss whatever pain that you're having. And it's all often said, if this person give you one opinion, go to somebody else, get another opinion, another opinion, another opinion. And you have to take into consideration that you're in a geriatric pregnancy, So anyway, Philip goes to the feds, and he lets them know everything. And I was like, wow, Philip really is a stand-up guy. And we get to the next scene, and Will is actually calling the contacts to help him because he took Philip's advice. Your network is your net worth. Say that again. Your network is your net worth. Keep it. Anyway, so we see Fred, DA Fred. Y'all know, if you don't remember, Fred is Lisa's daddy. Okay. So then we get a scene with young Carlton and young Will. And Carlton has always, even from a little kid, he noticed how he's taking notice on how Will don't have to do much, but because he immediately knows it, and Carlton has to study harder, and it's just because of a struggle. So Will told him that Viv and Vi was having a conversation about him going to the best schools, and so Carlton tried to talk Will off the ledge and was like, "Listen, you're not gonna like those schools anyway." And I was like, Carlton been a hater, okay? It explains a lot. So when Will did come to the school, Carlton really had to put on. But in the end, we always realized that Carlton and Will really did need each other. Okay. So we back at the police station, we found out that Philip and Fred. Well, Philip had a conversation with Fred as soon as everything went down, as soon as Jeffrey approached him. Sorry, y'all. He contacted Fred immediately. So Fred told him, you have to record everything. So he gave him this pen. It just looked like a button up here, like a little, just something up here. And it was a recorder. And he recorded the conversations between Dominique, and Jeffrey. But I thought Jeffrey knew, because Jeffrey was quiet the entire time. Well, not with Dominique, but I really thought Jeffrey knew. I did. So the feds, he get up, he was like, "Listen, I gave y'all everything y'all needed. This is my cue." He was him confessing everything while still protecting Jeffrey. But the feds was like, "Listen, not so fast, because we need more information, and we need Dominique literally admitting to having y'all to wash the money and all of that. And we want the one who is also making the deposits." So they want Dominique and Jeffrey. I knew something was going to happen. But again, my whole question is, how are we going to pack all of this in 2 more episodes? So I'm hoping that they make it. I hope that the writers has made this stick, and it's giving it the ability to land. So I'm in good hopes and good faith. Anyway, Philip gets home, and Vivian want to know what the Fed said. he told her they wanted Dominique confession, and he also wanted Jeffrey. So Vivian finally gets looked at by another doctor. No, I'm sorry, that's not what I meant. Doc get another scout to come out to see Will, practice and do all of the things. And so the scout was like, listen, my roster is full. He said, you can probably you can maybe get on a team, but you're going to have to go through 9 people to at least try and play. That's how full his roster is. So Will was like, listen, I can work hard. I can do what I need to do. He said, you don't even have an admissions application. And he was like, I can get that in. So Doc was like, telling the scout, hey, just give him a chance. So he was just using his network. And he was. So we get over to school, and Ashley is talking to Eli. I noticed that Eli had on a skirt. Well, of course, that doesn't line up with Bel-Air Academy's school attire. And so Eli doesn't want to change his clothes. He doesn't want to put on pants because he's referred to as they and them. And so he feels like he shouldn't have to do that, and that their rules are terrible at this point. So because he didn't comply, he had to go to detention. Anyway, let me talk about that real quick, because I'm not saying it's right or wrong. But what I will say is, kids go to school with pajamas, Crocs, and we're not even finna bring up prom dresses. Okay? Prom dresses have gotten utterly ridiculous. Patch hair, where are you going with this dress on? Like, I guess. But that's all I wanted to say about that. I don't want to make a big deal of it. I'm just saying that everybody has policy, and you at least have to follow the policy. And if you don't like the policy, then you probably have to go to public school. This is what the parents voted in. This is what the school board allows. So, hey. Anyway, Vivian have a conversation with Carlton. And so, Vivian have a conversation with Carlton. And she let him know, hey, listen, your sister can't hold water. She told me about the person situation. And that you need to do what makes you happy. And if your dad is mad, then he is mad. Because everybody needs to follow their dream. Your dad doesn't control your future, but you do. It was a nice conversation. So Ashley and Hillary talk. And then they actually get on IG, and she speaks about grief and her Costa Rica trip a little bit. And she also talks about her mom's symptoms and how the doctor did not help. And you see, like, people are commenting, pouring in, letting them know they had the same, they went through the same thing, sharing their experiences and what she probably should do. So in the next scene, we see Will still constantly calling Mr. Cunningham, but Will saw Mr. Cunningham at the school. He stopped him and was like, listen, I sent you voicemails. I've been trying to get your attention. I really need to talk to you. So he was like, listen, he ignored all of Will's voicemails because of that one situation that they were locked up. And ever since then, he threw everything out of the window. So Miss Frankie, the janitor, she actually liked Will. They have a really good relationship. And Miss Frankie stopped Mr. Cunningham, and Will was standing right there. And she basically was like, so, are you going to hear him out, or are you going to constantly make him prove himself? And I was here for that, because we have a hard time when we have money and resources. And I'm not saying you have to spend all your money on people. I'm saying we have a hard time giving us resources. Some y'all, I'm telling you, it can be the most simplest things. Perfume. A person wouldn't even tell you where they get their perfume from, where they get their clothes from. Like, I just feel like we're all wearing the same thing. But somehow you think you stand out because you have this piece of outfit on. No. Other people. Or even a perfume. Like, the one thing people don't realize about perfume, if you did not know, it smells different on different body types. It smells good, but one perfume may not work for one person, or cologne, etc. It works. It smells differently on different people. Okay. Anyway, so Miss Frankie convinced Mr. Cunningham to have a conversation with Will. I just don't like how again, and I get when you screw up so many times, that's one thing, but Will hasn't. Miss Frankie was like, listen, Will, all these kids are here, they just look at me as the janitor, but not Will. He talks to me, he asks about my family, he asks about me. Will is really genuine about asking about her, when a lot of kids there think she's just a janitor. And so she was like, so you're gonna make him, it was just a lot. It was a lot. Anyway, Vivian found out she had cholestasis. Is it cholestasis? I think that's what they call it. Correct me if I'm wrong, y'all. After she took her liver panel test, she said that the pregnancy hormone slowed down her liver functions, which caused all the itching. I was like, oh wow. I think that we all should do like liver cleanse. I think that we all should be more health conscientious. And when I say that, y'all, I'm really talking about myself. I more certainly have to lose 100 pounds. I really do. I am extreme. I'm 5'1". I'm very short, and I'm extremely overweight. But I am working on ways to get the weight off, and so I'm just saying, we just really need to be health conscious, and what goes in, what we're taking in, being conscious about our mind, body, and souls. Okay. So Vivian asked Hillary how she's doing, and Hillary was triggered by the doctor's misdiagnosis just because of everything that happened to LaMarcus. She said that while she was in Costa Rica, through her healing journey, she decided to start a ancestral healing, do the ancestral healing cooking, and start eating more healing foods. I looked that up, y'all, and I'm gonna have to look at menus and it looks like really clean, cooking. Anyway, Phil and Jeffrey. So Philip asked Jeffrey, hey, why did you lie to me? He tells Jeffrey, he planned to give up Dominique. And you really don't want to be on the other side of that, when anything goes down. Jeffrey, tell Phil that she promised him to be with his family. And so he was like, basically, if Dominique asks you to do something and you don't do it, then what happens to you? And so Jeffrey tells Philip, she said that, you would turn on me. And that was Dominique's doing already. What she's doing now. Anyway, I'm hoping something good, really, we'll see. Anyway, Ashley decided to wear something against the school's uniform policy, and so she ends up in detention with Eli. All right. Hillary invited Regina, who is played by Tyra Banks, who Tyra Banks played what's her name? Jackie. And y'all know Jackie was who the one Will wanted to get with because they grew up together. And Jackie was like, Anyway, we found out that Philip donated to Bel-Air. We get a flashback. Philip donated to Bel-Air Academy. And my understanding is Carlton probably didn't get in. And so Philip made a donation for Carlton to get into Bel-Air Academy. Again, this is probably the start of all of the anxiety and drugs and all of that. Like, even once he got into like 9th grade, 10th grade or whatever. But this was the start because Carlton was struggling. And to get in, you have to, I don't know, he was struggling because I remember in one scene, Vivian and what's his name? And Philip was talking about getting Carlton a tutor. And it was like it was like they couldn't take no for an answer that he had to be in Bel-Air Academy because it fit the part. Anyway, Carlton have a conversation with Philip and how Carlton has allowed so much to happen over the years, such as, allowing white kids to say the N-word all the time. Y'all already know how season 1 went, and we all wanted to yoke Carlton up. All right. He said all of this probably caused him to spiral. And he said, with the drugs and all of that. And because that, did something to him, he said he doesn't want to experience the same thing at Princeton, having to show up a certain way, having to work harder than others, having to do more and get the least. All right. So Philip supports Carlton's decision if he turns down Princeton because he said it was never about the school. It was never about education, but it was about choice and freedom. And I thought that was really nice. So then Vivian and what's her name? Hillary shows Regina her portrait. And at first she didn't like it. She was like, But then Hillary was like, listen, my mom has seen she painted a different side of you. A softer side of you. And Regina has never been soft, which is why her line sisters didn't really like her like that. And so the painting is beautiful. She apologized to Vivian, and I just love how this episode just pouring into black people as a whole. Anyway, Carlton tells Philip, he know where he's going. So I think he showed him where he was going, and Will tells his mom the same thing. He tells his mom, I'm coming home. So I'm pretty sure he's gonna go to school in Philly. Anyway, that's all I got, y'all. I will see y'all in the next video. Bye.